Welcome back to the Gen X Remix, Midlife, Laughs, and Next Acts. I'm your host, Tabitha Jones, and today we have a special guest, Teri Katzenberger, who's here to talk to us about when menopause is not the cause. Teri's been through multiple remixes, which we're about to hear, and she's definitely going to be sharing some insights on some of those interesting things that go on with our bodies that sometimes feel like they're related to menopause, but maybe they aren't. So let's give her a warm welcome and be sure to check the show notes for all of Teri's contact information, as well as a special gift just for you. All right, Teri, welcome. And thank you so much for joining us today on the Gen X Remix. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am great. Thanks for asking. And I am really excited about our interview today. I know that I resonate a lot with your story, and I'm sure that most of our listeners do as well. So why don't we just jump right in? And I'm going to ask you, first of all, like I ask every guest, to tell us a little bit about your remix.
Well, I've been thinking about this. My remix actually started in 1991, was my first remix. That's when I survived a domestic violent marriage at the age of 23. And I mean, by the grace of God, I got out of there with help. And that's when I began being an overcomer of domestic violent marriage, just living in a hell house, life-altering or life-threatening alcohol and drug addiction, dual eating disorder. I was just a mess. I felt like a child and living in the pit of hell. And that's actually that was my very first remix.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like, you've had quite the journey. Thank goodness you were able to remix out of that situation, because it sounds terrible and very hard. And with all hard things, I know we get learning and changes that come forward. So let's kind of jump into that. I know you've been on a bit of a health journey, and I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of your topic and really, why that menopause isn't the cause of this weight gain and all of these things, and kind of how to know. But tell us a little bit about your story and kind of what brought you onto this path.
Well, that remix. So it all started in the 1991. I married when I was 19 to an older man. Well, back then, 5 years is older. And so that was a big deal back then. So flash forward into 91, into 92, that's when I began taking better care of myself, because I had a counselor wanted to put me against my will into a hospital to help me learn how to eat and gain weight. Well, I told her that's not going to work, to force me to eat or put tubes in, however they do that then. And so for the first time in my life, in 91 into 92, I believe, was the first time I ever saw what you would see if you saw me naked. Mm-hmm. And it just freaked me out. I was just skin and bones. And so that's when I really on purpose began focusing on my own health and body wellness. And, even at that young age, I thought, if I don't take care of myself, nobody's going to want me. I had a breakup with someone. It was just, life was on this roller coaster for me at that young age. I was learning at the age of 23 how to even live life. And so, but that's when it started. I grew up in a household and in an era, an environment where all the women in my life were always dieting. Mm-hmm. That was kind of the key, where they were always on a diet, but yet they were never happy. And all through my upbringing, I was kind of bullied and belittled by my mother, the aunts, the women, people, relatives in my life, because I ate. And, I was a very active child. I never thought of weight or anything of those things, self-image. But my upbringing years was ingrained into me. It mattered how you looked. And I just don't mean, comb your hair, brush your teeth. It wasn't that. It was looks mattered. And you're judged by your outer appearance. And again, that never even had any effect on me until I turned 18 into 19 and then had this horrible chronic eating disorder. But that's when it began, probably in 92, to save my own life, is I began educating myself. There wasn't internet. If there was, I didn't know about it, but there wasn't internet. I didn't know anything about computers. So I went to libraries, I went to bookstores, began reading and educating myself on nutrition, and having the flashback of the women in my life always on a diet. I knew that wasn't the way, because what I knew was, well, they obviously don't work. And I wasn't trying to diet, but I was needing to learn how to eat food. And so that's how my journey began. And then, flash forward a few more years, and my other remix, my second remix, was I was at a crossroads of what to do with my life, what to do with career, what to do with job. And 2003, maybe, I got involved in a health and nutrition company, had an amazing business mentor, loved it. So I began working from home, helping people with their nutrition and weight management, helping them learn how to eat food that they love, but focusing on health and body wellness, not the scale. And then 2005, I purchased my very first, we call it now in-person, but my very first physical fitness and weight management center for women. And that's when God really broke my heart for women and the journey that they are on, that we're on, in life with looks and our weight and the scale and this whole internal, it's just a battle of the mind and an internal warfare for most of us. Yeah. And so that was probably a third remix on this other journey then of dedicating my life to helping people live a healthy, well-fit, strong, whole life from the inside out, without dieting, radical programs, frustration, and stress. Just teaching people. When I had the kind of the aha moment of why don't diets work? I had this flash before my eyes. My whole childhood came rolling through of dieting and looks, and it matters. And if you don't watch out, your metabolism is going to catch up to you, is what I heard growing up. And it's like, well, shouldn't I be eating? Or, where's she putting all that? She must have a hollow leg. So this whole self-image thing into my teenage and adult years came in. But yeah, then questioning why diets don't work. Well, they do. It's just we aren't taught how to eat food. And so that's when probably a whole other remix came in.
I love it. I'm always like, you can remix a remix as many times as you want, and it's never too late.
I must always be on one, because we evolve and things change, and we strive to be better than who we were yesterday, or for me to even serve people better. So that's how that all got started with me becoming a functional health and lifestyle wellness specialist and focusing on specializing in the fitness, nutrition, weight management, and internal health, the total body, total package without dieting.
That's so amazing. Thinking back to the 80s and early 90s, it was like the Dexatrim decade, right? I'm pretty sure we were doing crack in a pill, in a capsule.
Yes.
What was that store? Payless.
Yeah.
Or, whatever it was back then, thrifty. And, that was the thing. And I remember, and so much of what you're saying is resonating, because just the women in my family always, oh, I'm so fat. Oh, I need to lose weight. Oh, I'm so fat. And in most cases, they weren't. They were normal women's bodies. But even now, I catch myself. I'm like, okay, stop. Like everything's fine. It's not cancer. It's not something serious. It's a little bit of something we can work on and remove or adjust some dieting and or whatever it is. Not to your point, not really dieting, but eating right and doing those good things. But we definitely went from the Dexatrim decade into the everyone judges every woman's body. She's too thin. She's too fat. She's too old. She's too young. And, you just feel like you can't win. So we have to get to a point where we can shut down a lot of that noise and get to a place where we can just be happy, which it sounds like you help your clients get to that place of feeling happy and maybe more satisfied with their bodies.
And I hope so. I hope, yeah, I never looked at it that way. If them finding their happiness.
Yeah.
But the thing is life, and then this isn't meant to be a cliche or anything, but life is too short to be so unhappy. I know what that's like, being absolutely so unhappy with who I am, with what I'm about or looking in the mirror, never happy. I know that feeling. But yeah, but they are, so when they're achieving whatever goals it is that they've set out to achieve for themselves, they achieve that happiness. So helping people, kind of going way forward into a different remix, helping people to overcome their hurts, habits, and hangups, especially women, overcoming their hurts, habits, and hangups that continually hold us back from achieving our best, happy, healthy, fulfilled life, our best, happy, healthy self.
Oh my gosh.
So that's what I endeavor to do, because they're deserving of that. Women are so deserving of being absolutely who God created them to be in all of not only his glory, but their own, and be proud of themselves. And I teach women also, it's okay to celebrate you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
That's a whole other remix, Tabitha. That's a whole other remix.
A whole other remix. Oh my gosh.
And I learned how to celebrate me and know it was okay. Yeah.
We have to. Oh my gosh. So I got to touch on that. I was just writing a note on the hurts.
Hurts, habits, and hangups.
Habits and hangups. I was writing that down. But kind of coming back to the celebrating. Oh my gosh. So two things I want to hit there. One, I have a friend that sent a text recently, and it was about something she was really proud of, but she didn't realize I was on the text. And I sent back, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. And she said, oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be bragging. I'm like, girlfriend, that's what we do. That's what we need to be doing. I'm like, I celebrate everything. I celebrate, oh, your period stopped? Yes, let's celebrate that. Oh, you lost 5 pounds? Great. Oh, you got a new job? Come on, let's do this. Your kids graduated, whatever it is. And I was talking to a friend recently, her name's Cheryl, and we were talking about last year. We were really reflecting on 2024. We've done a lot of big things. All of us, we've done big things in a year, right? And I was talking to her about it, and she said, you talk about celebrating a lot. How did you celebrate? I went, oh, well, and she said, well, when you celebrate, that's how God knows to send you more of that. He knows that's what you're grateful for. And she's like, whether it's God or source or universe, whatever you believe in, she's like, that's how the right things keep coming. And I was like, darn it, you're right. So it's so important. And the happiness, touching back on the, when we feel good in our body and we've let go of those hurts and we're getting to that really great space, it comes with a lot of confidence. And I think, sometimes that, oh, I've got these extra 5 pounds. People mistake that for vanity, when really what it is I don't feel comfortable and confident in my clothes. And now I have to go apply for this job interview, or I need to go to this speaking event. So it can be, just a real hit on your confidence, which is, I think, why our weight kind of comes into play when it comes to our happiness so much. But we've got to let go of the hurts, the things that came from the past and the women before us that we're always talking about. Oh, I remember my mom saying one time, and it was harmless at the time when it came out of her, I'm sure. But to me, it was like, oh, she's like, do you really think you need to eat that? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm eating it. But now even, I'll get something like, do I need to be eating that? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of us in this kind of Gen X midlife space, we tend to use the menopause card to blame our weight. I do. I call it shape shifting. My mom called it the same thing. You wake up one day and you look one way, and by the end of the day, you look another way. So I'd love to get your thought on kind of that shape shifting or that bloat. Like, what is that? Is that menopause? Is it something else?
Well, that's why I shared where menopause is not when menopause is not the cause. Meaning, I've been hearing this menopause thing even when I was in my 30s from women. So I began my journey of helping women and people with their weight and their health and all that. I probably starting at 36 years old, maybe in my 30s. And so I would always think, well, no, I don't think that's, menopause or thyroid. And it's not to discredit those that it truly is that, or that they do have thyroid issues. This is coming from people where when I ask, have you talked to your doctor about that? Have you had blood work done? Have you had this done, that? Well, no, but that's what happens when you get to be this age, or, well, that's what happens when you age, or, well, I just think that's what it is, without even knowing what it is. But the menopause thing, especially when it was women my age, or even within a couple of years, and it wasn't until maybe 2022 where I began, all of a sudden in my mind, it's like, when menopause is not the cause, and all of a sudden that's these words rolled through me. Menopause is not the cause, because when actually it was earlier than that, in 2018, I had the big shift. And so I've been in perimenopause since I was about 38. So I've been in there. I'm not 58 yet, but I've been in there in perimenopause almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until 2018 where I was experiencing that bloat. And I had a chronic cough for probably 18 months, I think. Things were not right in my body. I would get acid reflux, headaches, just all this stuff that something just wasn't right. I finally was able to see, I went to a functional health, integrative health specialist at one of the hospitals. I was referred to her, and from a male client, because his wife went to see her, and she did a reset on her. And I thought, I wonder if that's what I need. I didn't know, what he was talking about, but I was on this waiting list. I wasn't to see her for another year. That's how busy and how popular she was, or in demand is what I'm trying to. But anyway, several months later, she had a cancellation. And for whatever reason, I got in there. Nice. And went in to see her. She did extensive blood work. We did a health hormone test kit thing that she sends off to a lab, and might take a week or two to get results. But the blood work came back, and our corgi we had at the time had just passed away the day before. And some of his health history, and I had rescued him. So I only had him for 2 years. So it was just heartbreaking. So then my test results came back almost identical to what his were.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I had such extremely low red and white blood cells. It appears you could be losing blood, but we don't know where it would be going. My vitamin D was extremely low, which didn't make sense. All these things didn't make sense from just the blood work, not yet the hormone health kit. Mm-hmm. And so they wanted to see me immediately. So, I went in there. That's when I discovered from my mother that I was born with iron deficiency anemia. Well, had I known that, all of my later teenage years through adulthood would have made sense to me. And I've had insomnia all of my life. And so that would have made sense because of this iron deficiency anemia. It was very chronic. Mine was very severe in the 2018. Even into 2022, she was baffled by why I was experiencing what I was experiencing. My hormones were a mess. And it was all of the estrogen and the metabolizing type hormones. So my liver wasn't digesting. It was basically almost non-functioning. The one estrogen level was off the charts. It was into the 3000s.
Wow.
And things just weren't right. And so I'm into all natural stuff. So, I mean, I was doing what she was recommending. I was eating so clean. And even before I saw her, but the bloating still didn't make sense. I would look lean and mean in the morning. But come 6 p.m., I looked like I was 6, 7, 8 months pregnant.
What is that?
It just wasn't making sense.
Yeah.
That's why I say when menopause is not the cause, meaning don't just chalk it up that it's menopause. If you have not had some extensive blood work done, if you haven't had, I would then see her. I saw her often, but every 6 months I have the blood work done. Every 6 months I have this hormone health kit is what it was called, would have that done. Finally, 2022, she said, I just don't know what's going on with you.
Oh, wow.
I just don't know. And she appreciated that I was so in tune with my body because I could, when something wasn't right, I told her, it's like I can feel something going on in there. She put me on progesterone cream. This was even in maybe 2018, 2019. I was on that for a couple of years. Progesterone cream. And then when we switched from that, it was pills. And that's when she finally in 2022, because I was still experiencing what I was experiencing, that chronic cough, the heart. That was another thing, the heart rate. I mean, the heart would be beating. The humming and the ringing in my ears was just maddening to me. And it all had to do with the blood flow and the iron deficiency anemia and just who knows what else. And so she had put me on the progesterone, and I thought something else because I remember asking her, well, how will I know if it's working? And she said, you are so in tune with your body, you'll know. And I thought, okay. But not much really changed. And when she said, it's just like a frat party going on inside of you. She said, it's just all over the place, crazy in there. And she just couldn't figure it out. And so it was not until then I just started seeing my own BGYN, who's amazing. And so because when I would see her, everything I'm telling her that I'm doing with this person, she could have been helping me. So I just began seeing her. She didn't take much of it all that too seriously. Mm-hmm. And I don't say that to put her down. I was getting concerned. And so, I mean, I was the one kind of, okay, what's happening here? I'm telling her my progesterone or my estrogen levels. I'm sending her my test results and this and that. And once she wasn't overly concerned, it made me feel better, and she would monitor things. It wasn't until, I believe, 2022, I did a food sensitivity test. Mm-hmm. And it was that. So that's why I tell women, now I know why even going backwards, forwards, why even when I wasn't even going through what I was going through, it was just always on my heart, my spirit of, well, let's not just chalk it up to menopause. Yeah. Let's not just chalk it up to thyroid. I went through the thyroid thing too, so I do know it's legit. But I also cut my numbers down in half. That's great. By shifting things. So But when it's not that, we need to really start understanding, okay, then what is it? Even though I might be one of the cleanest eaters that people who know me, know, you can still be eating clean foods, healthy foods, foods that are supposed to be good for your body, and for your health, but they might not be the foods for your body.
Yeah.
It's not an allergy. It's a sensitivity. And and with me, it was eggs, nuts. I forget what the other thing was that registered high. So then we're talking anything with eggs in it, anything with egg white in it, anything with any type of form of nut, cashews, almond, and so that made sense. And that was the game changer.
Wow.
That was the game changer. And so I'm still in perimenopause. Sometimes I celebrate that because I feel youthful, but then there's sometimes I want to celebrate not having the period. But I get it now although even if you get it once a year, even if it's
start over, start the calendar.
Start over.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much for so many reasons. So I also have been seeing a naturopath for a while, since just before 40. I was having intense migraines. I was not sleeping. I told her I hadn't slept in years. Like I couldn't remember the last time I had slept, and the migraines were regular. Everything was just off. I didn't feel good. I'm sure I could tell a list that would take a 2-hour tour here. But she did all those tests in the beginning, vitamin and mineral deficiencies, all the hormones, all the food intolerances. And to your point, some of the foods that are healthy are a problem for your body. They're not healthy for your body. And things that came up for me were quinoa, high sensitivity, weirdly chicken. And I love chicken, but I was eating chicken like twice a day. It was in my chicken salad. It was in my chicken at night. It was chicken, right? And I didn't even realize. And as I went through this full testing, coffee came up. I didn't take coffee out because, please, I got to live. But the other thing was dairy. I was like, something's going on with cheese. I'm like, it must be lactose. It wasn't. It was casein, which is a whole different protein, which is in all the high protein things like high protein pancake batters and Greek yogurts and all of those things. So chicken. So I was like, okay, I'm going to back off on all these foods except coffee. We're going to be clear. I'm not a liar. So I did. And I started feeling so much better. The hormone stuff, the vitamins and minerals, we got all that stuff squared away. Fast forward a couple of years and I started eating chicken again. And I wasn't really thinking, I was like, oh, I feel fine. I'm just going to eat a little bit of chicken. I'm going to eat a little bit of chicken. I was at the gym one day and I'm like, God, what happened to my knee? And the trainer said, did you hurt yourself? I said, I don't know what I did. I can barely bend my foot. I can barely bend my knee. And so that night I went home and I was like, I don't remember injuring myself. And then I started to eat dinner and I'm like, oh, I've been eating chicken again. So it was going straight into my joints and inflaming them. So I absolutely get what you are talking about and wanted to add that extra illustration for our listener because food can wreak havoc on your body. And the other interesting thing is I've had an HMO for years. They don't do this kind of in-depth testing. I paid out of pocket for naturopath services.
I did too.
Yeah, the allergy testing at the HMO, which will remain nameless right now, really included just, the skin scratch test of dust and mold and those kinds of things. It didn't go much deeper. Hormone testing doesn't really exist. And I was talking to my OB and she said, well, even if it did, we don't have it on our protocol to prescribe testosterone for women. And I'm like, but you understand that as we get older, we need a little bit of that. And she's like, yeah, but it's not, you couldn't get it if you wanted it. I thought, wow. So, knowing that there's so many things going on in our bodies, it just makes such a difference. Oh my gosh. So let's ask you kind of, what do you do to make sure that you're taking the best care of yourself, knowing everything you know about your body? What are some things you do to take care of yourself that maybe our listener can start implementing?
Well, okay. It's just kind of, I mentor a lot of women in recovery and sponsor a lot of women and stuff. And so I've been working with a few of them this week with their health because they've asked about it. Water is, I am a water pusher. And I had a client years back, my very first in-person when I said in 2005, I opened up, it was called She's Shaping Up, Fitness and Weight Management for Women. And Dorothy was her name. She came in, something was going on with her. And so I looked up at her. I was sitting at my desk. And she said, and she appeared angry, but she wasn't really, just frustrated. Because I think out of my mouth, I said, well, how much water have you been drinking? And she just stopped dead in her tracks. And she said, that's your answer to everything, water. If I tell you I got a flat tire, you tell me drink more water. If my car runs out of gas, you tell me drink more water. If this happens, you tell me drink more water. And I said, yes. Anyway, it's water. During the 90s, when I thought I was, on the right track of my life, and I was still in my 20s, I lived on Diet Coke, coffee, and peanut M&Ms. I was killing myself from the inside out. I thought I was controlling my eating disorder. Well, if I don't eat, then I won't, because I was addicted to food. So I ended up with a severe food addiction because of the programming of, are you going to eat that? Or, oh, you're going back for seconds. Or I was one that went back for seconds to a salad bar. So anyway, it wasn't for the desserts. And so that's how I started off until I went to a health and wellness workshop from Anthony Robbins, did a lot of his stuff in person and learning about water. So I thought, I'm going to see how true this really is. And I haven't stopped drinking it since. I don't drink pop. I don't do anything carbonated. If I do have a pop, if we're at a restaurant or something, it's very rare that I do. But if I'm wanting a little treat, that's a treat to me. And I do like a Sprite or whatever. I don't care about diet pops. That doesn't matter to me. But anyway, it's a whole other coffee talk. But water is a big deal, and it's a game changer. It can be a game changer for anybody. Mental and emotional health, headaches, the migraines, joint pain, just feeling well. We need our water. Our muscles, our discs, all the squishy things in our body. If we think of it as a sponge, and we soak our sponge, we wring it out, and then we set it up to dry. And it gets, or when we were growing up, or I don't know your age, but when I was growing up, they get crackly and almost, turning a little bit white, but they get crunchy and crackly. That's what happens to our muscles. That's what happens to our joints, our organs, all of our squishy things that need to be hydrated, need to be lubricated, need to be wet. So we need water. I've got a bigger one of these upstairs, but I have a 64-ounce one of these. I drink 2 a day, every day without fail. And I can tell if I have not had the adequate water. And then I target protein, dark leafy greens. So I just had a big smoothie that had probably 3 big handfuls of kale in it. And then fruit. And so those are my go-tos. Then if I'm not feeling well, I track back and go, what if I ate? Mm-hmm. And if it's something that I'll think, ooh, then I know my body can't handle that. So instead of thinking, well, I can't have that, or, because then we want it, well, I can't have that, I can't do this. I tell people, listen to your body, because it's going to let you know what it wants or what it doesn't want. So then I use the words, it doesn't serve me well. Okay. So if people out there that are listening have a spouse or significant other, we do not have to eat the way they eat. We don't have to do the things they do. We don't have to make 2 separate meals. But if my husband is a meat and potato eater, I don't have to have the potatoes. Especially if my body, no human should have starchy carbs, but again, that's a whole other talk. But that's what I do, is I target the lean protein, dark leafy greens, cauliflower is green, and then fruits and the water. And then other little things are more of a treat. So I do kind of like if 80% of my food, which it used to be, is crap, and 20% is, but I love salad. I grew up loving salads for whatever reason. But if 20% is maybe a healthier food choices for you, you need to shift that. 80% or more needs to be the clean foods that serve your body well, mind, body, spirit. The 20% is what I call the fun food. We just need to learn how to eat the fun food. Yeah. Like you and I, we've learned how to drink our coffee and
right.
And not deprive ourselves.
Yeah, so much. Oh my gosh, so much good stuff in there. Well, one fun fact, you can put kale in your smoothie and you can't taste it. So that's a good way to sneak those greens in.
People say, well, I don't eat vegetables. And I tell them, neither do I drink them.
Yeah, drink them.
So if you don't want it, or if you're, get a little lazy like I do, and you don't want to be doing all this cooking and prepping, I put stuff in a blender. Yeah. And then I blend it and I drink it.
It's a perfect habit. And it's the one and only way I can get all my leafy greens in is to sneak them in smoothies. It's mental. But then also it's like ice cream, but it's not. It's a protein shake with all the good things in it. So
it tastes great. Yeah. I tell people if they don't taste good to you, then you're making them wrong.
Exactly. Or potentially using the wrong protein powder.
Yes. Yep.
That's another thing, though. You got to be really picky on the ingredients on those.
Yeah. I'm a sick label reader.
Yep.
And I hope I tell people that I'm a sick label reader. I cry in the grocery stores when I look at labels, and I've done all that so that you don't have to. But we also need to look at the nutrition side of a label on healthy foods.
Yeah.
Because just because it's sitting in a health market doesn't mean it's healthy for you. And so, people need to pay attention to that. That's just where all the anger and frustration comes in with people and wanting to eat well or be healthy and well or lose weight because they feel so deceived because what they think is healthy. Then I'm the one telling them, well, yikes, you might want to stop doing this. And I tell them why, because, and it's just a learning process. And, when people learn how to be doing it and it fits them, then it's worthwhile. It's worth a little blood, sweat, and tears to get on a healthier path.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. I know this isn't on your list, but I have to ask because I'm always curious. What is your stance on artificial sweeteners, or what is your go-to sweetener if you need to add a little something?
I don't add a little something.
Okay.
And
good.
I tell people, and now I sometimes I've been backtracking over the years because I used to think that if there were a healthy sugar, it would be stevia. Well, I don't know about that anymore.
Interesting.
But I learned from Anthony Robbins. I'll give him a shout out. And this is, back in probably 2004, my very first event with him. You have to weigh it out. So I tell people, weigh it out. Okay, do I do stevia or do I do the big bag of sugar that costs $3 that's going to last me, my lifetime? Or do I spend the extra money on, $3 on stevia that's going to last me 15 days? You have to weigh it out. Weigh out what the better choice would be. To me, the better choice would be a stevia. Otherwise, we also need to be cautious of artificial sweeteners because they can cause internal damage on nerves, muscles, joints, things like that. Like the aspartame or aspartame, however people want to pronounce it. That is absolutely not good for the human body. Yeah. And it starts affecting your body to the point where it's mimicking MS.
Wow.
And so it's that's why I've never been a fan of sweeteners. Well, if I'm having someone to challenge them to remove something, well, but then what can I use instead? Mm-hmm. Well, you don't. If we want to take out this bad habit, I don't want you to start another habit with something that you might, we don't need to be replacing. With most things we don't. Some, sure.
Yeah.
But most things we don't. We need to get out of that mindset or that habit of, well, yeah, but then what? But then what can I take or what can I use?
I love it.
I drink water, you know.
That's so good. Oh my gosh. Well, I ask because I know if I taste something and it has an artificial sweetener in it, my body and my tongue is like an instant, don't do it. Somebody handed me, I was at a some kind of festival and they were handing out these sodas. They were sparkling water. I drink sparkling water, just the Spindrift, which is real fruit in sparkling water.
Yep.
But that's my kind of one a day little treat at the end of the day. But so they hand me the sparkling water in this can and I didn't look at the label. I just like, oh, that's kind of cool. Low sugar, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, whatever. It's gotta be healthy. I took one sip and I threw it away. And before I threw it, I got my readers out because let's face it, I can't read anything without them. Got my readers out. I read the label and it had sucralose. And I'm like, my body is just as soon as I taste it, it's like, I can't do it. So I love asking that question because so many people, and it's not a judgment, it's just a health thing. If you can get away from that extra little hit of sweetness, do it. Personally, if I'm dying to have a little something sweet, I'll have a cup of tea and put a little bit of organic honey in it, which, it's still sugar, but it kind of cuts that sweet craving down for me.
Yeah.
But there's so many sweeteners out there. You just have to be careful of.
Well, and I've got a report out of like 71 different names for sugar. Because once there starts to be such horrible side effects from sugar, and then if it's sucralose or then it's something else or it's something else, and it's causing damage to the body, to the humans, they change the name. So, I mean, there's like 71 different names for sugar that's put into our food.
Yeah.
And like I share with people, our food shouldn't be making us feel ill. Having, eating like a normal child, but then in teenage years into adulthood, having it turn into then a food obsession and a compulsiveness for food. I love food. I absolutely love it. Sure. And then having it turn into an eating disorder and things like that, bulimia and whatever, because then the shift of that was I was addicted to food, but I was also had such a self-image issue. I didn't want that metabolism to catch up with me like I was ingrained in my head, and looks mattered. And so then it was this double-edged evil sword. So when I lost my bunny trail. So when it comes to food, what's important to me is it needs to taste good.
Yeah.
And I need to be satisfied. So I pay attention to the things that I eat. And I don't want foods to make me not feel well in my body. I don't want foods to make me not feel well in the skin I'm in.
Yeah.
And I think people truly have it in their head that we're supposed to eat this big meal when we go out to a restaurant. And that's how you're supposed to feel when you're done. You feel stuffed, your heart is pounding, you're kind of sweating, and you're just absolutely miserable. Yeah. I don't want to feel that way. And so I share with people, our food shouldn't make us feel that way. I put such an importance on the meal because of my disorders and maybe this disorder. But it's important to me that if I'm going to take that time, I want it to be good, but I want it to be good for me also.
Yeah.
And, if it's making you feel crappy or you've got a headache or whatever is going on with you, well, then that's something you shouldn't be eating. Yeah. We should take more pride in wanting to live that healthy, well-fit, strong, whole life from the inside out. It was not a given that as we age ill, sick, aching, in pain, and have, the migraines and insomnia. That's not how we were created. And so it's not a given I age that way. And so I prevent myself from aging that way because I want to live a long, good, happy, healthy, fulfilled life.
Yeah.
And, be around all that as long as I can, but also be around healthy and well, the mind, the body, the spirit.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's so, so important. And so many things that you said, we could be here for 5 days talking about it. I mean, labels on foods, things that are going on, what we do to ourselves on a girls' night, because this girl may or may not have stuffed herself with cheese at a December girls' night and almost died the next day. I mean, it's like, why do I do it? I know it's going to happen. I even took a little snack that was arugula and a pear with a little bit of goat cheese. And, so I'd have a healthy option.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I ate all the other cheesy stuff. And guess what? It makes you either feel crappy or like you can't crappy, whatever way it goes, right? You can't win. So, oh my gosh, it's so important. And just, being able to look at different ways of rewarding yourselves and different ways of thinking of the future. I talk a lot about people not, and these days, I sound old now when I say it, in these days, not having that really big picture thinking, right? Not thinking about cause and effect. And when we think about food and our health and our diets, we need to be looking at that bigger picture, especially as we're coming into, people keep saying the second halves of our lives. According to Jane Fonda, who I met or listened to at a speaking event last week, I'm in the second third of my life. So still got some time, but I'm like, I guess depending on how you break it. But I want to be healthy and we want to be vibrant for our kids and our grandkids and our friends and be able to travel and do these things. And every time we make a bad decision or a decision that's going to impact our body, we might be cutting some of that time a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So many good things to think about. I can't wait to go back and re-listen to this episode so that I can grab even more notes and great insights from you. So, Teri, let me ask you, if our listeners want to connect with you, if they're feeling really excited about today or they have a question for you, what is the best way for them to connect?
The best way would be Facebook, if they're on social platforms. So it would be on Facebook, and it's they could look for Teri Katzenberger. And I've got a Live Well Now Academy group on there. That's the name of my business. But that's the best place. They can reach out through Messenger. If they do email, they can email Teri Katzenberger at msn.com or Live Well Now Academy, if that is easier to remember. Live Well Now Academy at outlook.com. I am on Instagram. I haven't just fallen in love with it yet. So, I trickle on there. So if that's somebody's platform, that's their go-to. I am on there. So they certainly can reach out on there also.
I love it. So we'll make sure we include all of Teri's links in the show notes so that our listeners can find them. They can get in touch with you and definitely keep learning from you. I'm with you on Instagram. I love it for other people's stuff. I struggle a little bit for me just because it's, I don't know, LinkedIn seems to be my jam. So I'm hanging out there mostly, but we will share all of your links. I appreciate everything that you shared with us today. I'm going back, like I said, I'm going to be listening to this again very quickly because I wanted to grab some additional notes, but we really appreciate you for joining us and look forward to staying connected.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate this.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Teri as we talked through so many things in such a short amount of time. Like I said, I could have been talking about this stuff all day, and Teri agreed. Oh my gosh, so many things go on with our bodies, and often we just don't even realize what's causing them. And I love Teri's reference to hurts, habits, and hangups and how we can clear those so that we can live happier, healthier, and more full lives. If you want to connect with Teri, be sure to grab her information in the show notes. You can connect with her on the socials or visit her website, as well as shoot her an email. And as always, as your corporate escape Sherpa, I've got something great for you. We are offering our workshop, which is a 2-day workshop called Escape with Confidence, Clarity, Purpose, and Action for Your Bold Next Act. And it is for women who are ready to leverage your decades of corporate leadership experience to start building a business you love before you escape. So be sure to check out the workshop. It is $97. For those who are listening to the podcast, you'll also see a special code so that you can get it for just $67. Thank you as always for listening to the Gen X Remix. Be sure to give us a 5-star review and share with your friends. There's always something more to learn, and we've got so many great guests on the lineup. As always, stay fierce, stay fabulous, and stay you. Talk to you soon.